Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychek with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for joining me. Now, today what we're going to do is just kind of a quick, well, it's not necessarily quick, but quick to show you little craft that starts to introduce you to wool felting, dry wool felting. And to do that, what I do have is a very old thrifted wool blanket. So we're going to use part of this. I'm just looking at my piece here. Oh my goodness. So we're going to use part of this as the base of our felted project. And to start, it's good to just kind of start with some small little flat projects. I've been cleaning in here, starting to get this more organized, and I'm just finding I'm covered in dust. Things hanging from my hair, and I hate cleaning at the best of times, let alone this, but we're gonna be building a lot new shelving and stuff, so it's kind of crazy. So for this project, what I want to do is just kind of cut out a piece of fabric and cut it into kind of bookmark size strips, just to make my life a little bit easier. And what you want if you are thrifting these is you want to get like 100% wool. Now, if you're starting with, you can start with a piece of felt instead. If you want, you can start with wool fabrics. If they're not already really dense like this old blanket is, wash them and dry them. And you know how wool shrinks. And then you've got a really nice matted wool surface to be able to work from. So I'm just going to cut this down to size into some rough strips that I'm going to be able to work with. And then I'm going to pull you in overhead, because there's no way that you'd be able to see me working a little needle from this distance. So let me get these cut out, and then we'll come back and we'll get started on the project. A couple of basics. Here's the piece of felt that I had cut. Now what I do have is just this sponge that we can felt into. I just have a little piece of fabric that just kind of helps me keep it in place. Needles come in a couple of different shapes and a couple of different sizes. Generally speaking, you are using a fine needle for detail work, and you're using a thicker needle to start with. Often they're going to look like this, and then you can put it into a little holding device, or just use it simply like this, especially if you're starting. All of the needles actually have little tiny barbs along them, so that when you push down through your wool and pull out, it's starting to mat all of the fibers. And that's what starts to get your design to stay where it is. For this, you use what's called roving wool. So this is wool that hasn't been spun into yarn. And you don't cut this. You would just gently, if you needed a piece of this, you would just gently pull. If you pull hard, it's hard to separate. If you pull gently, it pulls apart. So to start with, we're going to do just a simple pattern. So I'm going to tease a little piece of green apart. And if I'm setting this up so that we'll maybe do a vine and some leaves up it, I'm just going to start by kind of twisting it so that my vine, right, if I start it down on this end, that I have kind of the beginnings. And we just start pouncing the needle. Now, these are very delicate. You don't pounce sideways, you pounce up and down. Okay? And to start with, all I want to do is get this tacked into place, and then I can go back and I can felt it some more, right? But you can see how already this is kind of sticking. Now, because I'm going through this fabric, it's actually going through the back, and it will start to attach into your sponge underneath and like your foam underneath and pads. So every so often, just lift it up. I will say this is very sharp. it will go through your finger. So keep your fingers out. It's virtually impossible as you start this not to occasionally prick yourself. Just, saying. So all I want to do to start is continue this, and you can see how I'm just twisting it as I go, and I'm just looking to see how this is stuck? So you're just going to pull it through, and you can see the faint line on the back going through. So right now all I'm going to do is continue this spiral all the way up so that I get my vine happening. Okay, now on this end, I'm just going to start forming a leaf up at this top. So it's going to be about here. I'm just going to start with the tip. So I'm just kind of tacking my ends in place, and I'm just going to go straight through the length of what that leaf is going to be. So I'm not shaping it yet, and just tacking it in place. And then to get the rounded sides, I'm just going to start to extend the shape, going up and down on either side of that line. You can see it just gently gathered some of the ends in here. So when I'm first doing this, I just want to get the rough shapes in there. I'm not refining. This is just gently tacked in. It's not done yet. And I'm just slowly teasing out some of those extra pieces of yarn, of the wool. And then I'll take the rest of it back up and I'll felt that down in. So that just forms a little leaf at the tip of my vine here. So all of this will still need me to go back over it a fair bit more to kind of flatten it out, make sure it's all tacked down into place. But I like to get the rough elements done and then add to it. So as I go, I'm looking to add some leaves, alternate leaves. So I'm going to take a little bit of my wool and I'm going to fold it over so that it's kind of roughly the size and shape. I've got a little bit of a tail here because I want to add that down in to my vine. So I'm going to anchor it down in. And now I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm just going to go straight out to the tip and just follow that straight line back and forth. And then I can start to broaden it out and shape my leaf. So I'm just going to continue to do this, create alternating leaves all the way down, because we're just starting simple here. All right. So now we have all of our leaves attached, and you can see on the back the patterning. So we can add flowers. Now you can do any kind of flowers, and you can do them extremely detailed, but we're just beginning. So we're gonna do nice, easy little round flowers. So I'm just taking a little bit of my wool, and we'll just do little flowers on kind of, you know, alternating sides here and there. So let's start with a little bit of lavender, and we're just going to begin going in a circle, and we're just adding our wool as we go. And I'm already thinking, man, this is way more wool than I need for this particular flower. So for something like this, I could use some scissors to cut away some of my excess. And now I just want to make sure that I felt that all down in. So you can see how much comes through. All right, if we wanted, let's say, just, you know, a little black center. So look at how little I have of this. We're just going to kind of start by poking it down in, and then we can just kind of wind it around and start poking it down into the center. So it looked like I had nothing there of the black, and look at how much of it I actually had. So the size of that center is going to be determined by where you are pushing that wool down into your design. So the tighter you keep it to the center, the smaller it will be. And maybe now I want to make sure that my flower is sort of semi-attached to my design. So maybe I want to just add a little bit of that green up here. So I'm just anchoring those threads on the bottom to my stem. And then I'll take this kind of roughly half, and maybe start taking a little bit of that green up beside my flower. So it just kind of cups around it. Nice and simple. We're not doing anything crazy or anything super hard or fancy, but already look at how sweet, look at how sweet that looks. So now I just need to add the rest of my flowers. Now, I kept this project quite simple, but it's cute, right? It's just nice and simple, just kind of, you can finish it off. I just finished off with a little bit of string. You can add extra little embellishments, but this is a great beginner's little project. Just be able to work on this. Start with something simple, then you can add in more complexity. You could add in a darker green to be able to get a little bit more shading. You could do more complex florals. Once you start to get the hang of it, adding in details however you would like becomes the fun part. And You could do a picture of anything on these and go from there, right? So as much as this is just a little vine, you're learning how to do lines, you're learning how to add some dots. It just expands. You can start to do complete pictures, and you could turn it this way and do a landscape. There's so many options, but this is a great beginner's project. If you've ever wanted to jump into felting, and this is dry felting, we're not using any water, we're not doing wet felting. So this is just dry felting, and great place to start. Let me know if you're going to give it a try. I am no expert in this, but I'm able to do some things that I can still feel pretty proud of. Let me know what you think, guys. Love to hear from you. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.